how will the 49ers quarterback situation play out? That's what everyone wants to talk about.
Well, it's funny. Brock Purdy was talking about this recently, yesterday, and he was like, "Well, the plan is to do the repair, 6-month recovery, but doctor could go in there and call an audible." He's using like football metaphors, and there could be like a hybrid surgery where he gets, I don't know, where it's like a 9-month recovery. So they don't really know what's going to happen. It still seems to me like they're going to have one quarterback healthy for the entire offseason, Trey Lance. They're going to have to bring in at least 2 more. And if Brock is ready, it's going to be like coming off of an offseason where he did nothing but rehab. So if they like throw him back out there, it's because they're desperate and they feel like they can't win with Trey Lance. If Trey Lance gives them anything to feel confident about, it seems like it allows the Niners to be cautious and prudent with Brock Purdy and his elbow and his future. So it seems like this is like what Trey Lance said, he wanted an opportunity to compete. No competition, dude. You get all the reps, 100% of the first string reps. Make your mark. Because I don't see how it's possible that Brock really won't be back till midseason.
Yeah, yeah. I look at this. It's funny, man. People think I just agree with you because you're Grant and I'm on your show, but honestly, we see things very similarly.
I agree with you. I see all
yeah,
your takes.
right. Grant just agrees with whatever I say, man.
That's right. I'm impressionable.
But it's 100% true, man. Like, here's the way I see it playing out is I don't buy the 5-month timeline. Let's just go off 6 because that's what everyone else has been saying. Even 6, you're putting Brock Purdy at the end of the preseason, right before the actual season starts. And to me, unless Trey Lance just looks awful, what Kyle Shanahan can do is like, let's kind of err on the side of caution with Brock Purdy. He hasn't been able to play much. So I really believe it's going to be Trey Lance week 1. However, based on history, what I think will happen is either 49ers are going to start slow and Trey Lance may not look like that great for fans and teammates comparing Brock Purdy towards the end of last season. Or unfortunately, knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't happen, he gets injured, and then Brock Purdy is going to come in and play savior again at some point. That's kind of how I see this whole thing playing out. Could be wrong. If Brock Purdy comes back within 5 months, then maybe it is more of a real competition. But I think that's how I see the 49ers situation playing out.
Let's be realistic though. So we're talking about who's going to start week 1. Well, if Richard was just talking about it. The last 15 years has told us anything. It doesn't necessarily, it's not all about who starts week 1 because Kyle Shanahan often goes through multiple quarterbacks. He goes through quarterbacks like they're running backs. You blame him or not, he's got a pattern that goes back a long time of quarterbacks not making it through the entire season. So history suggests both guys are going to play. And if this past season is any indication, a 3rd and 4th guy are going to have to play too. So it seems like if the Niners keep, I'm not saying crying or whining, but they keep saying that if they had just had another healthy quarterback, they could have won. Well, you need a bunch of bodies then. That's how this quarterback situation is going to play out. You got Trey coming off an injury, but you got Trey. He's going to be cleared in a few weeks. Mm-hmm. Then you got Purdy coming back eventually. You need like 3 more bodies at this position so you're not calling up Josh Johnson midseason again. Let him retire. He's 37. You got to bring in bodies here, especially because everyone's like, oh, anyone can play quarterback for the 49ers. All right, then bring in a bunch of guys. Bring in a bunch of anyone's.
It almost seems like, and that's kind of what I was talking with Rich about, it almost seems like 49ers, they're going to have rankings like who's the best in their eyes, who's 2nd, 3rd, 4th string or whatever, but you need a quarterback by committee on this team apparently, right? So it doesn't have to be Brock Purdy or Trey Lance. It's going to be both.
It's going to take a village at quarterback, and it's going to be. It could take another rookie as well. I mean, really, how do you even get through the offseason if you don't draft? They have to draft a quarterback unless they're going to go out and just sign Jacob Eason and Kurt Bankert and say thanks. I think they can do better than that. They could strive a little bit higher than the Jacob Eason level if they can get this type. They keep saying anyone can play quarterback for this team, right? So easy. Kyle Shanahan schemes it up. So many playmakers. All right, then test that theory. Bring in more guys.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. I agree with that. I posted this yesterday. I want to get your take on it. I was feeling feisty, so I gave my true opinion. I like to speak my true opinions. It's not always popular, but here's my true thoughts on the 49ers quarterback situation. Let me know what you think. I
Mm-hmm.
said, I don't care who the quarterback is for the 49ers, but I'm never going to be happy with whoever it is until I know he's top 10. I don't think Brock will be top 10. And I don't know if Trey can be either. It'll probably take 2 years of him playing for us to find out, which we most likely will not get to see. Sorry, but that's my honest opinion. What do you think about that take? Am I off?
I think you're absolutely right. And a lot of people, I keep coming back to Kyle Shanahan because this is his team, and him and John have put together a really good team except for the quarterback position. They just haven't gotten this right. And it's like they're back at square one. Yeah. And it just seems like a lot of people compare Kyle Shanahan to Andy Reid. They're like, well, Andy Reid took him a long time to win a Super Bowl. Like, yeah, it's true, but he wasn't floundering at the quarterback position. The reason they didn't win the Super Bowl, if you go back and remember at Philly, that team was flawed. They had Donovan McNabb. Who were the wide receivers? They got Terrell Owens for like 1 year. I mean, it wasn't the most talented team that he had back then. But he did have a quarterback, and he kept him healthy most of the time. Donovan McNabb was like a top 5 quarterback in the league for a very long time. I mean, Andy Reid didn't mess around there, but Kyle Shanahan is messing around, constantly shuffling in and out, can't keep a guy healthy. And this goes back to Washington. Again, I was hanging out with my cousin this week from Virginia, big Washington fan, and he's still salty about Kyle Shanahan in that season. Like, put yourself in the shoes of a Washington fan. That was the one good season they've had in the last 30 years. And RG3 was looking really special. He came out the same year as Andrew Luck. RG3 was the rookie of the year. And from Washington fans' perspective, Kyle and his dad broke him with no remorse. And now they've taken their act on to the West Coast, and people don't know. But history's repeating itself in his eyes. So I hope you and I can protect these quarterbacks better than Kyle can.
We'll do our best for sure.
What do you think RG3 thinks of Kyle Shanahan privately?
I think he privately. In respect to RG3 for not coming out publicly with this stuff, but I think privately he does not like the man. I really don't think he. How could you? He kind of ended his career.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's crazy
if you could get RG3 and Jimmy Garoppolo and Matt Ryan, pretty much any quarterback who's ever played for this guy, I'd love to hear that conversation.
Yeah, and unfortunately, probably Trey Lance in a few years is how I see this playing out. Unfortunately,
he blamed you for everything too. He blamed you for injuries too. Yeah. I got that. Yeah. Oh man, it's so much fun. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's downer talk, but it's real, man. It's a pattern. Like when you see a pattern with the guy over time, it becomes evident that there's something going on there, man.
People, wide receivers love Kyle. Like Emmanuel Sanders went on and on this week. Yeah. Deebo Samuel. Wide receivers will say nice things about Kyle. It's interesting though. I'd love to know what Jimmy thinks. Not that I'm on Jimmy's side or anything, but Jimmy's got a side. RG3's got a side. I'd love to know.
Yes.
Trey Lance. Yeah.
Let's talk about Jimmy real quick.
Yeah.
I shared with the 49ers Twitter something that I heard. I labeled it as a rumor that Jimmy most likely could have played, chose not to, made a business decision. Kyle was mad at him for it. I got a lot of heat. I got a lot of heat about that. What's your take? How likely is that to be true in your opinion?
Extremely likely. Extremely likely. It seems it seems like has the ring of truth to me. And frankly, I think Jimmy Garoppolo not only made the right decision, it was a no-brainer decision. No-brainer. It is a business. And I can't believe the Niners expected him to play, considering he's going to be a free agent in like a month. And the Niners weren't offering him any guaranteed money. And he could get hurt, and that would cost him money. I mean, frankly, both quarterbacks who played for the Niners in that game got hurt. So not only did Jimmy make the right decision, he dodged a bullet. And if the Niners wanted him on the field, they would have. Yeah, that's a negotiation. You have to give him some money, give him an extension. Something.
Yeah, I think a lot of 49er fans, they probably, maybe they play some youth sports, some high school sports, and they're like, you got to go out there and win. They don't understand this is a business. Jimmy Garoppolo is a business, a multi-million-dollar business. And, from a fan perspective, I see why it's frustrating for them. But from Jimmy's perspective, I think he made the right decision. And I don't know, man. I'm a pretty competitive guy, but I think I might have made the same decision.
I would have made the same decision too. That being said, I don't know the nature of this injury. I don't know if it was worse than we thought, or what I will say is one thing. This goes back to 2020. Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, we all know what Martellus Bennett and Julian Edelman said about Jimmy. They pretty much said he dogs it and makes business decisions if he's hurt. In 2020, he injured his ankle twice and eventually ended up missing 10 games that season with a high ankle sprain. 10 games. And he's just, when the season went south, he didn't come back. I think he missed 8 consecutive games, didn't come back. A lot of players did come back that year. Right after that, they traded for Trey Lance. So something happened, and all I can't help but notice that Patrick Mahomes got a high ankle sprain and missed 0 games. You know, you're a quarterback. You don't have to run around. Some guys can play through that. Maybe they were different injuries. But I can't help but notice that one got 10 games, the other guy, no games. Maybe that's why the Niners eventually like, man. Because when they eventually traded for Trey Lance, they were like, well, it's because he can't stay healthy. Jimmy, well, nothing has changed in that regard. He's gotten hurt a bunch of times since then and hasn't made it through a season unscathed the last 3 years. So they were right.
Yeah. It's not like Jimmy runs around anyways. And he definitely could have done a better job than injured Brock Purdy and probably even Josh Johnson, if we're being honest. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if Patrick Mahomes can do it, but again, this is a different year. He's got a different injury. It was a broken bone. I have no idea really where he's at, but it's not.
That bone's healed. That bone's healed, bro. It's sore, maybe.
Fair enough.
It might be
but
sore.
But I mean, it's a terrible relationship between him and the 49ers. I mean, that they pretty much held him hostage once he had that surgery last year, and it's contentious. He doesn't go to the meetings, I don't think. It's not. They're not trying to please each other. So he's like, oh, you can't. I just think it's funny. Do you think he let him on? Like, hey, yeah, I'll play. Yeah, I'll be fine. And then it came to him the week of. He's like, ooh, yeah, I'm not feeling it. Because that would be sabotage.
Yeah, a little achy.
That would be sabotage.
Yeah. I mean, well, there's a reason. Why did they leave him on? Why did they leave him on the active roster?
That's the question. That's it. The fact that they left him on the active roster and didn't put him on IR indicates that they were hoping and expecting him to come back at some point. Now, maybe they were expecting it to be the Super Bowl and not the NFC Championship game, but clearly they were hoping and wishing and praying. And I think either they deluded themselves or he led them on.
Yeah.
Or I guess the third option is he just wasn't healthy.
I mean, the guy that
what did he say? He really wished he had a helmet. Didn't he say that?
Yeah.
He really wished he had a helmet.
Darn it! I wish I had a helmet. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And the guy that covers Jimmy Garoppolo the most has been extremely silent on the matter, which is David Lombardi, who was telling everybody after Jimmy got hurt that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be back in 6 weeks for the wild card playoffs. That's what David Lombardi, who's covers Jimmy in more in depth than anybody, and then he's super silent over the last week in regards to this subject. So I find that interesting.
Yeah, that was very interesting too. There was a lot of weird messaging coming from that one. I thought the Jimmy coming back in 6 weeks thing was coming from Jimmy's camp. But in retrospect, it felt like it was coming from the Niners. Like, he's going to come back. Like, Jimmy's like,
who, me?
What? Nah, I'm done. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and everything that's come out afterwards, like even CMC was like, I don't know. That's above my pay grade. He was asked about it. He was like, I don't know. You know?
Hey, did you see how Christian McCaffrey was dressed at the NFL honors last night? Did you see that?
I saw some
How
pictures.
would you describe his style?
I don't know. He very I don't know. What did you notice? I didn't know his girlfriend was a freaking like. What is she, like a model or actress? She's pretty,
I don't know. He had like a double-breasted thing, like all up on his. Did you see? He was like, I was like, whoa. Yeah. He's like he was like a general in our army or something.
Dude, I'm so out of touch with fashion. I don't know anymore. My kids kind of are. My kids are so much different than me when it comes to fashion that. The stuff they wear, I'm like, I would never wear that crap. And they probably.
But that's interesting to me because, like, these kids. I mean, these players are kids compared to us. I mean, they're 10 years younger than us. They're multimillionaires, and then they come out and wear stuff. I'm like, whoa, that's what you wear when you're young and famous. All right, fair enough.
All right, well, I want to talk to you about, Oh, maybe I should read GTC. Sorry, GTC. $5 super chat. Thank you very much. If Debo was tight with Kyle, why was he requesting a trade if he talks regularly with him? What the fuck was that about? Did you see how Debo says that they're both very confrontational? So there's like they're constantly fighting with each other. Did you see that?
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think the whole trade request thing was about? Was that just money or was that something else? That's what GTC wants to know.
Dude, Kyle is the good guy, man. Kyle is Kyle the friend, the coordinator. Like Kyle's pretending like he's on Debo's side. So when they're having these business disputes, Kyle's like, "Hey, man, I'm just chilling. Like I don't know what you're talking about. You guys work it out." And then he comes in at the end and he's the good guy. That's Kyle, man. Kyle's the good guy. Kyle, players like Kyle. He would rather everyone like him than him make an unpopular decision and have people resent him, which is something head coaches do frequently. If I have to have the entire team rally against me, great. At least they're united against something. But Kyle's not like that. So I just feel like he probably let Debo Samuel do his thing and didn't get involved and then ended it at the end.
Interesting. Thanks for the super chat, GTC. All right, so here's my thing.
But in reality, he's in the background, like pulling the strings. But when he talks to Debo, he's like, "Hey, man, it's out of my control. I don't know what you're talking about, man. But I got your back. I got your back. I will get you paid."